right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And I'm excited to dig into our topic. It's going to be quite a meaty discussion. We are focusing today on the role of HubSpot as an enterprise CRM for industrial and manufacturing companies. I want to thank you for joining us. My name is Doug Wendt. I'm the president and chief growth officer here at Wendt Partners. I'll talk a little bit about what we do in just a moment, but I also want to introduce my colleague and co-presenter today, Alex Siavelis. Hello, Alex.
Hello, Doug. Thank you so much for having me. I am on the sales team over here at Wendt Partners, and excited to chat here today and dive a little bit into the industrial use case that we've built out.
Spectacular. Thanks, Alex. And for everyone's reference, Alex actually used to be a HubSpotter himself. He used to work at HubSpot before joining our Wendt Partners team to bring his expertise over to the field. So thanks again for joining us today, Alex.
Of course.
So just a few housekeeping items before we get started with the formal program. This event is scheduled for an hour. We will end on time. So we thank you for taking your time to join us. We'll make sure to respect your time. In addition, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen to type those questions out. If we have the opportunity, we'll just answer them on the fly. If not, we'll make sure to get to them at the end of the program. And finally, for everyone's reference, this program is being recorded, and we will not only share the recording with you as an attendee, but in about a week and a half, it'll be published on YouTube, but we'll also make sure that you're able to share it with friends and colleagues. So again, thank you for joining us today. Our topic today is the application of CRM into the world of industrial and manufacturing. And this is a world that has some very unique needs that we're going to be talking about. And we're going to be zeroing in on the HubSpot platform. HubSpot, for those of you who only have a cursory knowledge or aren't necessarily familiar with it, HubSpot is a CRM platform. We'll talk about what is a CRM in just a moment, that heavily competes in the marketplace against products such as Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, and in this market space, the industrial market space, often against solutions that are provided by ERP vendors. And so the first thing I kind of want to establish is like, what is this stuff that we're talking about here? So you're going to hear two terms bantered around through the next hour, or two acronyms. One is CRM, the other is ERP. Alex, do you want to talk a little bit about what is a customer relationship management platform? And then I'll talk about ERP.
Absolutely. That sounds like a fantastic plan. So a customer relationship platform is really going to be, at the end of the day, a platform that we can use to manage all of the processes and data for our business. So generally speaking, this is going to be a place where we can keep and store records of contacts, companies, transactions, but oftentimes, we also want to have processes that have been built out within this platform that align with how our business operates. So, pipelines to keep track of deals. And of course, each of these different processes is going to be different for every single organization. And so customization in a CRM platform is super, super important. So that we can actually replicate the kinds of processes that we're actually executing within our businesses today. And so, again, at the end of the day, a customer relationship management platform, or CRM platform, is going to be a place where we can manage contacts, companies, deals, as well as communication, but also build in strategy of how we're going to be reaching out and engaging different people. And what we found is, in this day and age, CRM is really expanding into more and more tools outside of just the typical managing a sales process or managing customer relationships. And so on the call today, really excited to kind of highlight and show how HubSpot, can be customized and customized and really just customized to fit any kind of
Configured house
processes.
configured.
Yeah,
I was thinking of another
configured.
word to
Thank
help you out there. We'll go with configured.
Configured or customized to fit the processes or needs that we have for our business.
Alex, thank you. I think you did a great job walking through that. Let me Let me now contrast that with the philosophy of an ERP system and also sort of the dividing line between the two worlds. To do that, I'll bring up an example from my own career because I spent the first half of my career in either industrial software or in industrial companies. And one of my first jobs, I was on the product sales team at an electronics company. And the CEO would march from his corner office once a day, typically around 2 p.m., over to the beginning of the row of cubicles where all of us plebes, all of us, the entry level sales staff worked in our little half height cubicles. We didn't even have full height cubicles; they were half height cubicles in the cubicle farm. And at the edge of the first cubicle was a clipboard where we would hand write any orders we had booked that day. Okay. And so typically you find, and I know I'm a CEO, I tend to do the same thing. A CEO's top question is what orders have we booked? What deals are we getting? Okay. And the thing that's important to understand is the most essential piece of information there is the order or the booking, right? It's the order. Okay. ERP systems are concerned with everything from the order. They are concerned with the fulfillment of that order. So an enterprise resource planning application typically manages your manufacturing process, your work orders, your job costing or production cost management. It'll handle material planning, your shipping and receiving, perhaps your HR, everything on the production floor and the distribution of those products and the management of the orders to fulfill. That is what an ERP does. But the interesting thing is because they're order driven, everything in the mindset of an ERP is about the thing, not the people, right? And that's really the difference between a CRM and an ERP. A CRM's primary object of interest is an order. Do we have the right material, personnel, production shifts, machines to produce that order on time? Do we have the components to fulfill that order from stock in the warehouse on time? Can we deliver that order and then collect money against that order? The CRM's question is, how do we get that order? How do we get more orders? How do we make those orders larger? How do we upsell and cross-sell to increase the value of orders? It's about the work generating the demand. And then the ERP delivers on the demand that we've generated. And so it's really important to think about because sales and marketing professionals often fall into the trap of taking purely a CEO's reductivist view of only being concerned about the orders themselves. Okay. And in today's day and age, it's more and more critical that we develop and manage complex relationships in order to secure those orders. Okay. If you want to increase your win rates, you're not just going to do it by asking for more orders. You're going to be doing it by being more strategic and thoughtful about how to generate the demand. And so that's the role of a CRM in the industrial environment. It is to generate that business. Now, this raises a really important question because a lot of industrial companies operate their entire culture on an order-based framework, a frame of reference. And so I would say probably about a third of the industrial companies we talk to have never actually really used a CRM platform, right? Their salespeople, either they have direct salespeople who are managing those relationships between their two ears, right? And it's almost a personal activity more than a business activity for them to maintain and build those relationships with their accounts and generate that order activity that results. Okay. Or they're managing a channel organization where they aren't selling directly, they're selling through reps and distributors, system integrators, and so forth. And they're not thinking about what can we do to help those people sell. They're just thinking about why haven't they generated more orders for us? So I want to challenge everyone on the call today. If you want to take industrial sales to the next level, if you want to take the growth of your manufacturer to a new level, you have to start thinking about relationships as a strategic asset and not just focus on what orders did we get today. The orders are the outcome. They are not the process. They are the outcome of the process. Okay. And so with that, Alex, let's talk a little bit about HubSpot and why HubSpot we think can bring some really unique tools to the industrial customer. In your experience, you've been working with literally hundreds of companies, typically hundreds of companies inside of a month. what are some of the things that your customers keep saying to you are big challenges for them and their sales teams today?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like one of the biggest things is the historical separation and siloing of data in between two systems. So an ERP
Mm,
platform and a CRM platform. As a sales rep, I've worked, for the past, what is it, 7 or 8 years in multiple different systems. HubSpot, Salesforce, Outreach, SalesLoft, Oracle, Eloqua. I've had a lot of experience in a lot of different CRM platforms. And one of the biggest things that I've found is that, when we're building out quotes, generally speaking, that's going to be done in a separated application outside of the CRM. And so one of the biggest things that I feel like one of the biggest boons of HubSpot is the ease of connectability to it, and the also incredible ability of customization within that platform to allow for one, the connection of platforms that were historically separated, the CRM and the ERP specifically. And then two, because of the ability for that connection, now it kind of allows for a lot of functionalities that historically were just completely impossible because of the separation of these systems. So, for example, if we're within a CRM platform like HubSpot, and we're working through a transaction, if I don't have all of the historical quotes that I've sent to this customer before, there's not really any kind of context that I'm going to have when building out a new quote. I'm not sure if I'm going to have any templates that I've used before. I'm not sure what else is going to be involved because I don't have all of that at my fingertips within one platform. I'll have to spend a lot of my time in multiple different windows, double checking multiple screens to make sure that things are being filled out correctly. And so one of the things that we've found, especially in the last few months and even the last year, is that we're seeing more and more that people are now that they're able to connect HubSpot, CRM platform, and ERP platforms. We can have a much, much more cohesive experience for a sales rep because all of the information that they need is right at their fingertips. They've got information from their quoting platform pulled directly onto their deal records so that they have all of the information about the relationship, that customer relationship, with all of the past activities. So we know who's been engaging with them, our services team, our marketing team, how they've been engaging. But then two, I have a complete historical record of all of the transactions that we have that are historically in that ERP platform. So really what this allows us to do is kind of marry these, historically separate CRM and ERP that have historically not worked together in tandem into a solution and a platform that not just works together, but actually is more than the sum of its parts now, because now we have additional functionality by connecting these two platforms that was just initially impossible. So that's the biggest call out, I would say.
You brought up, I'm going to call this the 3 C's of CRM success, I think, here. So one is communicating with people, right?
Mhm.
Communication, ease of communication. The second one is context,
Mhm.
having information around me to help me communicate effectively and make smart decisions. And the
Mhm.
third is connectivity,
Yeah.
connecting my CRM with other systems. And I think to your point, HubSpot was designed to address all three of those. And there's actually a fourth thing that we'll talk about, which is crossing boundaries between sales and other departments to provide a better experience to the customer and also increase sales velocity, when we
Mm.
involve marketing and service and so forth. Let's take a look. Let's pop open HubSpot, my friend, and take a look at, why don't we start with a contract record? We'll start in our database before we hop over to the demo environment, if that works for you,
Yep.
Alex.
Absolutely.
So,
Let me go ahead and start sharing.
and while Alex is doing that, just so everyone kind of understands what we're looking at here, HubSpot is a platform and it's divided into a series of hubs. Okay. Those hubs are HubSpot Sales Hub, Marketing Hub, Service Hub, Operations Hub, Content Hub, and Commerce Hub. If you remember all 6 of those by the end of this event, you get a door prize, which is we'll send you the recording for free. So, it is a platform. But even though we've divided into these hubs, that's really just to help customers buy the functionality they want to buy, because in reality, it is one piece of software. It's one piece of software running on one database. And that is very, very unique in this industry. For those who've been around enterprise software for a while, you know that the way this industry grows 99% of the time is I have one product. I want to add features that another product has. I buy that company, I slap my logo on their stuff and call it integrated. We call that in the HubSpot world, we call that the cobble tax, because these products are never properly integrated because they weren't designed and built by the same teams. Contrast to the HubSpot approach, which is it is literally one platform. I compare it honestly to the world of Apple and Android. You know, you could do whatever you want on your Android phone. And Alex, I think you are an Android person. So you literally can, but you can also break your Android phone pretty easily. You can download apps that are potentially malicious. There's no, you know, it's just the Wild West. And, you know, there's a 50-50 chance stuff's going to work well. In an iPhone world, it's a walled garden. It's more strategically thought out. There are downsides to that, but the upside is that you have an absolutely seamless user experience. And that's, if I could say anything about HubSpot, it's that it's an absolutely seamless user experience. So we're going to take a look at that now. So I don't know who this guy is. I guess his name's Doug Wendt, Chief Growth Officer, blah, blah, blah. So Alex, take a few moments and walk us through this screen and give us kind of a little bit of a navigational overview of what we're seeing here, my friend.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is going to be one of the 4 core records that are available in HubSpot. This is going to be a contact record. But something that you'll notice is that all of the records within HubSpot are going to be configured in about the same way. Generally speaking, on the left of HubSpot, we're going to have navigation bars here, but on the record that we're looking at, we're going to have properties or data points, specific pieces of information that can be captured through forms, through integrations, or manually entered. And this is going to be all different kinds of data points tied to this specific person. So first name, last name, obviously, but it is also going to have automatic properties that are populated in here. So of like the point at which this contact was created. You'll notice that every change, every update within the platform is going to be stamped with a date and time that these things are taking place. And so that we'll be able to, 1, base automation off of any of these changes, but also 2, report on any of them as well. In the middle of the record here, this is going to be a complete activity timeline going through every single update and change that this specific record has had happen to it. And of course, not all of that's going to be applicable to us. And so here we're able to kind of search and filter by what we really want to see. So as a sales rep, what I'm going to be focusing on in here is going to be activity and context. So that's going to be emails that have been exchanged here. That's going to be email tracking. That's going to be website activity. So we'll even be able to see if Doug was digging around on his own website, we'd be able to tell that directly here within the record and have a complete historical timeline of every single touch point, every single marketing email, but also every single phone call. All of these things are going to be recorded, transcribed directly to this record. And then finally, on the right-hand side here, this is going to be how this specific record is tied to other things within our system. So obviously, Doug is tied to Wendt Partners, that company and organization. He's tied to a number of different deals here. But what you'll notice is we're even able to pull in outside and third-party applications directly into the customer record here. So we even have a sales navigator integration directly built out so that we can now see a ton of information about our fearless leader, Doug Wendt here. And we have the ability to send him emails or in-mail directly from HubSpot, view a little bit more information, and that would go ahead and pop open a little bit of a expanded view on, you know, what we have for him on LinkedIn here. So that's going to be
and I
kind of
just want to point out, oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry, Alex,
please.
just go back to that screen, that LinkedIn
Yeah.
Sales Navigator. So what I wanted to point out is this is one way that you can view information from other systems in HubSpot. There are a number of different ways to do it, and we'll come back to this, but this particular method is a linked view of the other system. So this is a special window that was designed to frame and present LinkedIn data in the native LinkedIn environment, but while inside HubSpot. But it's not just random information. We're not like seeing a home screen here. We're seeing data that's tied specifically to this record that we're looking at in HubSpot. So that's one of the ways that that we can make these connections, and we'll look at more of those in the near future as we continue the program. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, of course, of course. And so just like Doug said, this sidebar here on the right is, like I'd mentioned, a connection to other things within the platform. But that also does allow us, just like he said, to pull other platforms directly into HubSpot. So right here, we're seeing LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but this could be configured for anything. This could be an area for Panda Docs, for documents. This could be an area for an
Contracts.
iframe or a screen into your ERP platform as well. So this is
Or
just
a Tableau report. We're actually doing that
exactly
for a
right.
client right now. They wanted to be able to go, in this case, we're looking at a contact record, but the same is true for a company record. Same methodology, same approach. Everything here is identically structured in a company record. And so we are going to be creating a Tableau-based connection so that the customer can, whenever their salespeople are looking at an account record in HubSpot, they'll click a button and up will pop that full screen modal to show the Tableau report, which is pulling data from their ERP and other systems to demonstrate their order history and most recent median order value, what product lines, etc. So this is an important thing to think about for industrial businesses, because a lot of times what our clients are actually asking for when they talk about integrating HubSpot with an ERP, whether it's Epicor, whether it's Infor, SAP, Microsoft, Great Plains Dynamics, et cetera, any of those tools and many others, what they're often actually looking for is a view of account order related information structured to help the salesperson with decision support. And that can be done natively. It can be done with BI tools. I mentioned Tableau. It could just as well be done with Power BI. We could pull data natively into HubSpot and run it through HubSpot's reporting engine. My point being, there are many ways to provide the right user experience for your salespeople. So when you work with Alex and Pat and other members of our team, you want to think about, what are the questions I am trying to answer and what are the actions I am trying to perform. Don't start from the perspective of, well, I want it to integrate. I want this. That's a technical discussion. First, start with business requirements. I want my salespeople to be able to see the last 3 years of order history from this account organized by product line and then shown on a graph to demonstrate whether the trend is going up or down. That's an example of something that we can then specify and design a solution around. So think in terms of what you want people to see and what you need to be able to have them do. Those two pieces of information help us truly craft a customized, industrially powered CRM for our clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So to continue walking a little bit through here, this record,
Yep.
we've got, again, on the right, we've got those things that we can tie into this record, those other platforms. In the middle here, again, this is going to be that total activity history. And this is also going to be where we can see any updates, changes to these pages. So we can use any of those updates and changes to trigger automations, to update data, and anything else that we'd like to. And then again, as we'd mentioned
Alex,
earlier,
on that,
yeah,
if you just want to hit on that filter, I just want to show everyone in the event one other thing on that right-hand side. So if you look from left to right, you've got all the communications, right? And then the different activity that HubSpot is natively tracking, right? And updates, same kind of thing. And then integrations. So any piece of software that is set up with a connector to HubSpot, or what we call an ecosystem native integration, is going to show up here. In this case, we've got DocuSign, Eventbrite. We've got a note-taking tool, PandaDoc, PSO Hub, which is an industrial strength project management platform, Ring Central, which is calling software, a product that we use for subscription management inside HubSpot, document management with cloud files, video, Zoom. So any other systems that are providing data and connecting to HubSpot, that data then with these integration connections will automatically appear on the company and contact records. So when we talk about connectivity, here we're showing it. It's true connectivity.
Absolutely. And to take that even a step further, what we're looking at right here is the activity of a single record, the activity of our engagement with Doug. Now, if we were to look at a different record, for example, a company record, now that would consolidate the communication of everybody at that company with everybody at our organization. So then we can kind of see, sort, and filter by what users on our team are engaging with those people. So if we want to see just communication from us versus communication from maybe a different team. And so these abilities to search, sort, and filter all the communication, all the updates and changes is incredibly effective to allow us to, again, build out different kinds of automations, or engage people with very specific communications based on how they've engaged with us. So very, very important to, one, have a complete historical record of everything that's happening, but two, be able to consolidate that communication in an effective way so that we'll have records that very clearly show exactly what's happening within the organization.
And one of the things that you keyed into, if you click on that all teams, like, one of the big issues I know when I worked in a manufacturing company is the customer would call in to the order management desk or to the customer service department, and someone would tell them an answer to when the order, was scheduled to ship. But I had no visibility to that. To your point, I don't have to hunt through a, needle in a haystack. I can just, with one click, say, show me just the communications between this customer and our customer service department or our operations department or our production control department, or quality control, and just see those communications. I don't even have to know who in the department. I can select just that department. So if you're trying to find the thread of a conversation, whether it's email, phone, we'll get to those different components here in a minute as well. You can find that needle in the haystack with literally just a couple of clicks. You can search by the term, you can search by the team. You've got enormous search capability to just surface that really important piece, that right nugget, as soon as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just as Doug mentioned, the other really cool things about these records are we have the ability to start communications directly from the record. So if we're comfortable working out of our email, that's totally fine. You can continue working out of your email. It connects directly to HubSpot's platform. You can send emails there. They're automatically going to show up in HubSpot as long as we're logging and tracking them. And then again, we can send emails directly from HubSpot's platform, utilizing a system of templates that we have, utilizing a series of templates over time, and then automatically have personalization be built into those templates so that we can then send emails with any kind of templates already built out, with a meetings link built in so they can just grab time to speak with you if you want. And then, of course, even be able to access a almost like a cloud on the back of the platform if we want to, pull content in that we have stored in our HubSpot environment. We can literally just search that and pull that directly into an email as well. So a really, really comprehensive and effective email tool for everybody in the organization, allowing us to send emails directly from these records with templates, sequences, and then also having the visibility now to see everything that's going on so we can write these emails with the context that we need.
Awesome. And I'm going to take a moment, since we talked about the 3 C's, and one of them is communication, and how easy is it to communicate? And your reps are doing this right now, folks, but you may not know, or they may not know how much they're doing and how much effort is going into that. So a couple things to emphasize here. In any use of HubSpot, whether it is on the web, on your computer, whether it's on a tablet or on a phone, because HubSpot comes with a complete, at no charge, mobile application. So the mobile app runs natively on iOS and Android. In any of those contexts, I can make and receive calls inside HubSpot. I can generate tasks and notes. I can send emails, which of course Alex is focused on here. I can schedule meetings because the system comes with a complete meeting scheduler built in, set up scheduling blocks, reference your existing calendar, create different calendars of availability for different kinds of meetings and so forth. Okay. Meeting rotation, etc. In addition to all of that, there's also, if you just want to hit the more button there, Alex, we've already seen, but we can also connect with people on LinkedIn. So you can send connect requests and track them right here inside HubSpot. You can also send and receive SMS messages. And for those of you who do business internationally, and increasingly even in the domestic US, WhatsApp messages. So literally every form of communication. And again, I want to reiterate, this is true whether I am on the web application on the desktop or laptop computer. It's true if I'm on a tablet, and it's true if I'm on a mobile phone. In any of those contexts, I have this full communication capability. And the beauty of it is, if I am looking at a deal record, let's say, and on the deal record, I say, great, I'm going to call Doug to ask for an update on the decision process they're going through to determine who's going to be the OEM for their new program. And I click that call button, it's going to automatically allow me to record the details of that call, take notes, record that the call happened, etc. And in states where it is legally applicable and where you authorize, you can even get a record and transcribe the call. All of that will be automatically tied to that deal record, to the contact record of the individual you called into the company. So now you've got that information instantly indexed everywhere you need it. So I can be out. So this is the difference. If I'm out in the field, I make a regular cell call. It's like a tree landing in the forest. Nobody heard it. So did it really happen? If I do the exact same thing with no additional clicks, oh my gosh, clicks or steps, and I do it on the mobile app in HubSpot, now everybody who needs to know will know. And I can also even trigger automations and other follow-ups here. I can walk out of an in-person sales call, and with 2 clicks, I can send a follow-up thank you email that's personalized to that contact, set a reminder for me to follow up with that person in a couple of days, and even automatically enroll them in a sequence to send multiple follow-up emails to ask for that next step. I can literally do that as I'm walking out of the meeting. So for those of you in the industrial market who have a lot of people in the field who are doing their job from the car, who are doing their job from the customer's factory, from the customer's plant or facility or warehouse, okay, or whether they're working with field sales teams, reps, and distributors, and their job is to build those relationships, doing it with HubSpot, they'll be fully empowered in the mobile environment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, to call out, this is one of many record types within HubSpot. So this is going to be the contact record. But again, this is one of those standard records that we have available for us. The others being companies, tickets, and deals. Tickets, obviously, keeping track of customer issues. Deals, keeping track of customer transactions. But with HubSpot's platform, we have the level of customization that we need to even create further and more customized objects, as well as more customized interactions between objects. So right now, the standard is that we have a contact tied to multiple different companies, which is totally possible, obviously, within HubSpot's platform, because that can happen. You can have them tied to multiple deals. And we also do have the ability to create parent-child relationships among these companies within HubSpot's platform natively. That being said, again, we have the ability to create and customize all different sorts of objects to make sure that we can customize the platform to fit all the different styles of use case that possibly could be utilized for. And so that can extend to bids, RFQ processes, that can extend to preferred vendors, that can extend to even items in other software platforms like projects within NetSuite or orders within Epicor. And all of these things we can then create records for within this platform so that we can start having this platform actually be reflective of the way our business truly operates, which is at the end of the day, the goal for a CRM platform like this.
Absolutely. And while you were talking about ERP and project management, I also want to point out field service management is another area that we have a number of tools and options for that'll be a seamless part of your HubSpot solution. So keep in mind any aspect of your business process that is important for your sales people to be have access to, or that is important for your customer delivery process, we can run it in a HubSpot centered solution environment. So Alex, this is a good segue. Let's switch tracks. I know we're going to go take a look at a custom database that we've developed specifically to demonstrate HubSpot's capabilities in the industrial environment. So for everyone's understanding here, HubSpot, like all these products, comes in a series of editions. And the ones that we work with the most overwhelmingly are the professional edition and the enterprise edition. And for today's discussion, we're going to be focusing on things that you can do in the enterprise edition. Enterprise edition gives you the complete toolkit for customizing HubSpot to your business requirements. Professional edition provides you with an enormously robust toolkit, but built more around standard use cases. So in most cases, our industrial clients really prefer the enterprise edition. So let's talk about a scenario. I'll set up, we've kind of got two different scenarios here. We'll start, Alex, with the ASH 15A scenario. So we developed these actually based upon the requests of prospective clients over the years. And so you'll see a couple different scenarios here. So in this particular scenario, let's kind of set the stage here. Let's suppose that my company provides power management systems for use in data centers, which is obviously a constantly growing field. And so we need to be able to achieve the sales goal. What is the sales goal? To get our products spec'd into the job and to have those products be used as widely as possible. So, you know, this is an important distinction. In this case, we're talking about a manufacturer. So the manufacturer makes the products. They are selling it through distributors. Those distributors are looking to get spec'd in by subcontractors. Typically, the power management is handled by an electrical subcontractor, okay, on a given project that has a general contractor and is managed, you know, by the end customer, the company, the developer of the project, or the owner of the project. So this is very common in the industrial world, right? You've got projects, you've got products, you've got different companies that are doing different things in the process. And you have to wade through all of that and make sure no matter who ends up in the pole position to be the selected subcontractor for power management, that they're going to be one of the firms that you work with, rep or distributor or integrator, and that they're going to spec your products in. And so you're not just managing a sales cycle for the actual product, you're managing all these other components to get on the bid and to be a part of the winning bid team. It's a lot, isn't it, Alex?
It absolutely is.
I'm just exhausted just thinking about it. Yes. So in this scenario, Alex, this is a custom screen now that we've built, but it looks very similar to that contact record. It still has the same sort of form to it. Walk us through what you've got here on this screen now that we've sort of set up the scenario a bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just like Doug had mentioned, this is a completely custom record. And this is going to be a record that we've created for a specific Epicor order. And so what that means is that a lot of this data is actually going to be data that's going to be pulled in from that outside Epicor platform. And we're going to be populating this record with the data that we're receiving from Epicor. And so some of the key things to point out on this record are, one, this is going to be a staged process. So this is going to actually not just be a single record, but it's actually going to be keeping track of a process over time. So it has a stage, first of all. But what we'll also notice here is that there's very specific things that we're keeping track of. So one, we're keeping track of a specific location. So this is a specific site. This is a site A. So this is two parts of a single order. Because each of these locations is going to have multiple different sites, and each of these sites is going to have different requirements for the data center that we're building on those sites. And so we're going to be able to, one, have a record for each of these sites, but then two, be able to populate in a hierarchical way line items pulled from Epicor that each have their own records that are all associated with this higher level order. So this one custom record actually has multiple different other custom records that are living within it. And so one of the things that we'd mentioned is on all of these record types, we've got general information on the on the left, we've got an activity timeline in the middle, and you'll notice we don't have that today, and we'll jump into that in a moment. And then on the far right, we have the connections to other areas within the platform. And so here we're seeing these other line items that we're connecting this new custom object to. And I really like to highlight this because it allows us to show that we're not only able to create customized objects, but we're also able to create customized associations of these customized objects so that they can interact in customized ways and be associated to all of the parties involved. Just like Doug mentioned, we have general contractors connected here on this record. That's going to be different from the place that we're installing it. That's going to be different from any subcontractors that are associated with the same installations. But all of that information is going to be available and viewable and interactable from this one record.
And reportable.
And reportable and automatable. So we can now automate any of the things based upon any triggers for updates and changes on this record as well.
And to that example, Alex, let's suppose typically in these projects, what's actually being spec'd in might be changing over time. So the list of products that is on the first draft of the bid might be different than what's on the second draft, might be different than what ends up in the actual order. So being able to make that comparison would be very valuable. Where are we having leakage? You know, are we finding that typically on data center projects, two of our product lines are being spec'd in, but a third one is not, right? We want to maximize penetration on each project. We don't want to just be on the project. We want to be everything we can be on the project. Those are the kinds of decisions that your sales team members can make when they have this information at hand. Now, the other thing I just want to mention, then I'm going to hand it back to Alex, is that you have the option when you integrate your ERP with HubSpot. You know, typically people thinking of integrating orders, as we've shown here. Okay, you have 3 different ways to do that. One method is, and it's a very common method, is to send that information specifically to the deals object in HubSpot. Okay, if your salespeople create quotes and close those quotes into orders, then that is probably the right way to go. The second scenario is companies where the salespeople are in charge of managing the project, but other people enter the order. So an engineering-driven company, typically, you know, the account executive or account manager or the project lead is managing us winning, but is not actually entering the order. The order information would be entered by a technical person. In that case, I would propose the approach that we've taken here, where that data goes into custom objects. Okay, and the third scenario is a company where we're actually doing this right now. We're doing all 3 of these scenarios right now on our implementation team, actually. The third scenario is where a company manufactures its products or distributes products, but its salespeople are not directly involved in creating the orders at all. Typically, they are working with distributors or retailers or dealers or systems integrators, and those people are placing orders. And your goal is to see how our order activity is doing. In that case, the probably the best solution is to take the approach of using HubSpot reporting or native ERP reporting or a Power BI or Tableau or other BI tool, because I'm using that purely for decision support, not to perform actions. So again, you can see HubSpot can support all 3 of those scenarios. Like I just described 3 very different business cases inside the envelope in the industrial and manufacturing world. HubSpot can support all 3. We've configured it to support all 3. And actually the one you're seeing here is basically the most complex of the 3 to show you just how far we can take the power of the platform. Back to you, Alex.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the other things I'd like to call out on these records are the standard is to have the activity record be what's shown here. But we do also have the ability to create these customized cards, so we can then highlight key pieces of information on these records, again, so that when our either services team or sales team are coming on to access these records, they're going to have the information that's most important to them highlighted right in front of them, so that there's no question of, oh, where do I find the manufacturer that is going to be helping us out with the Ultra K series power commander? Okay, well, that's going to be highlighted directly here on the record, exactly who that is, so I don't have any questions. And again, these can be customized in any way that we want, which makes it really, really powerful.
And you could have multiple tabs in the center area. So one of the things that we're actually doing, so think about your salespeople. If your salespeople have to fill out information to help specify the right solution as they go, one of the things that we've actually started doing in our own system is setting up middle panels with questions that need to be answered at different deal stages or in different scenarios, so that our salespeople know exactly what information needs to be added in order for that deal to properly progress forward. The other thing I want to mention here, Alex, if you just hover over one of the upper core line item names so we can see the power of the preview function. Yeah, just go ahead and click that preview. There you go. So every record that we've got showing here that is linked into this record, right, that's on this screen, if you see that the bold turquoise font, that means that it's a linked record. And instead of just having to open the whole thing, you can also open a preview and work on adjustments in that record overlaid while you're in this one, so you don't have to leave one screen to do another. So Alex can make some adjustments here. Let's say we want to make this a non-stock item for this order. We don't want to pull it from the warehouse. Maybe there's a specific reason we need to modify the Ultra K series product for this order, and so it needs to be built to order. We can make that change here, hit the X, close that record, and I haven't had to leave the screen that I'm working on. So again, a big question that we get from industrial clients is, my salespeople need to handle a lot of complex information, and they don't want to have to go hunting around to update and edit. They want to be able to manage that information in one place. Can HubSpot handle it? And you're seeing here that the answer is yes. So, keep in mind that a lot of the salespeople in the industrial world, they are engineers, they are production people, they are experts, they are technically knowledgeable people who have developed a niche expertise in building relationships with their peers and bringing orders to fruition. So they are technical people who became salespeople, right? And we want them to feel that HubSpot can support their technical requirements and needs. And that's literally what we're doing here. Doing this in other products typically means either you can't unless it's already built that way, and that one size fits all model is typically a failure. The second scenario is that you can do all this only in other products if you are willing to hire a development team. Everything we're looking at here was done by Alex in this demo database. Alex, am I telling the truth? Keep me honest here.
That's right. And I've never coded before in my life. So
he's not a coder. This guy, incredibly talented at a lot of things. Coding is not one of them. Now, we do code solutions for clients, but that custom development is maybe 5% of the work that we do to configure a solution for a client. We are able to do between 90 and 95% of our work in a no-code environment. It's complex, it's powerful, but just think about the ease of management by having that all above the code level in the configuration of the tool itself, rather than buried in custom code.
Absolutely.
Alex, other things, let's hop over to that Auburn Hills manufacturing. We'll talk about a slightly different scenario. And then I know we'll make sure there's a little bit of time for questions before we end today's program. So this was developed for another use case. In this particular case, there is a press being installed in a given manufacturing facility, and we need to make sure that we have all the right vendors lined up for the project. So this is a project, there's a contracting project, okay? And we want to make sure that we have all the specs necessary to prepare a winning bid, okay? Probably in the manufacturing world, about 20% of our clients in the industrial market segment are bid or project driven. The rest tend to be product driven. We've configured HubSpot to support both use cases. In fact, just as a reminder to everyone here, we actually have a brochure that showcases the custom approach of HubSpot to the product world, product driven environments, and the same thing for project driven environments. So either scenario, we've got you covered. Alex, take a moment and walk us through what we're seeing in this screen and how we can use it to drive a deal forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, what you can see on the screen is going to be a little bit different than what we'd seen on the previous one. This is also going to be a pipeline. So this is going to be an RFP pipeline, request for proposal. But some of the key things on this is actually going to be one, like Doug had mentioned, we've got a series of preferred vendors. So we've got a series of people that are going to be helping us out with this transaction specifically. And so what you'll notice is this is another one of our customized objects, these vendors. And so each of these vendors is going to have specific pieces of information that's associated with them that we were highlighting here about them on the right-hand side. So one, we're highlighting the area that these people specialize in. And then once we highlight that area, we're also then showing what products they can provide within those specific lines of business. So here we have Baumer with that's going to be, they're going to be providing stuff for us from our electrical and automation areas. And specifically, they're going to be helping out with the bearing units, some belts and some bushings. And so this allows us
bearings, belts, and bushings, my friend. Nicely said.
There you go. And so this allows us to, again, highlight key pieces of information that are going to be involved with this specific project and who is going to be responsible for them, making sure that we have records associated with all of these different people. But also, an important point of clarification that these specific vendors are not going to be the same as the companies that we're engaging with. But the important point is they can be. So they can both be a preferred vendor and a company that we do business with. And so in this organization specifically, we're installing a Bliss press, but Bliss is also an organization that this company does business with. So Bliss is going to be one, a customer, but two, a preferred vendor. And a platform like this allows for the flexibility for that to be both, which is really, really cool and powerful. The other things
Alex,
to call
talk a
out
little
here,
bit about, I just wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about associations like Bob Smith. He, in this case, is the plant manager. We can see that. But, you know, what about the consulting engineer, the environmental engineer, you know, the systems integrator? Talk to us a little bit about the associations function in HubSpot and how that supports these complex relationships.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so within HubSpot, we have what's called, or what HubSpot calls flexible associations. And so what that means is that we can have direct association. So for example, Bob Smith here is going to be a plant manager at Auburn Hills Manufacturing Complex Plant 2. But he's also going to be associated with the parent organization, American Axle and Manufacturing. And so what HubSpot allows us to do here is have people or objects, any objects within the system, be associated to as many or as few other objects as needed. So we have Bob, who's going to be, again, the contact and going to be the lead contact and plant manager, so who we're going to be communicating with at this specific facility. But he's also going to be a contact under the parent company, American Axle and Manufacturing, and he'll be involved and included on all of these different projects as long as he is associated with that correct location. So he's at Auburn Hills Manufacturing Complex Plant 2. And so these others are going to be have project owners that are different people. So maybe each of these projects is going to have a separated project owner, but then Bob Smith here is going to be overseeing the transaction as a whole.
And in this case, you've got it. You're showing a NetSuite integration as well, right? I just want to call that out. Yeah,
absolutely.
Keep going, Alex.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is going to be pulling data in, just like Doug said, from NetSuite. And what that means is that we can have NetSuite populate information on any of these records, on Bob's record, on the transaction record, or on any of the associated records here as well. And so again, the real benefit of this is it allows us to showcase what is actually happening within our organization, and who is going to be responsible for what, so that we have all of the parties that need to be involved in every single transaction and every single project and every single organization. All of the associations are going to be formatted correctly here, so we have the right people involved.
And Alex, we can automate a lot of these things too, correct? Like I can say,
Absolutely.
whenever these particular subcontractors, each of these three is selected on the same job, therefore do these other things or fill
Mhm.
these fields out, right?
100%. And that's one of the biggest benefits of HubSpot's platform, is that every update, change is time-stamped and available for reporting as well as automation. So very well said.
So I think it's really, I think one of the big takeaways here that I want our audience to understand is that we know that you're trying to walk a thin line. You're trying to empower your salespeople to do their jobs more effectively, but you're also trying to gain more visibility into what they're doing and how well it's working. The way that that equation stays in balance is by adding power in to solve problems that drive salespeople crazy. And the number one thing that drives salespeople crazy typically is when other people in the company are talking to their customers and nobody knows. The salesperson doesn't know, or other things involved in their projects or products, or their channel partners, what have you, is changing, and that doesn't raise its visibility to them. So the rest of the company, in addition to providing the sales team with what they need, we're also able to feed information from the rest of the company to the salespeople. So if people are engaging with marketing content, if people are engaging, if they have service calls, whether it's a field service call or a ticket call, a support call, any of those other activities, if other people in the company or in another division of the enterprise are talking to these folks, we should be able to see that here. And that's one of the reasons that HubSpot has been incredibly well received in multi-division organizations and companies that are involved in M&A roll-ups. Okay. We can run just like you saw here, with the exception of looking at my contact record. We've actually been operating in one database. We had two instances set up to demonstrate here. But the industrial demo database, we've got this set up for a number of different scenarios, and we can run those scenarios in one database. So if you have a project division and you have a product division, but they're parts of the same enterprise and you want them operating on the same platform, we've got you covered. We understand that in the industrial world, there are typically different motions that have to be pursued in different processes. For example, a good friend of mine runs a company that manufactures industrial gears, but now today, the gear maintenance and field service operation is as big, if not bigger, than the gear manufacturing. That could all be run inside HubSpot. So we've gone back and we've established, Alex, the three things that I know you set out to achieve. One, we've demonstrated the power of the communication. Two, the context. And three, the connectivity. I know we only have a moment or so for some questions. I'm going to bring one question up right here, which is, can HubSpot allow me to interact or manage data that comes from multiple ERPs into one HubSpot instance?
Yes. So I believe, generally speaking, we absolutely can. It just has to be configured correctly on the HubSpot side with to accept it. So, yes, generally speaking.
Yep. And I'm going to double down on that. It is absolutely yes. Whenever you have multiple systems interacting with HubSpot, we're going to recommend a middleware-based approach so that we have some quality control over the data. The biggest hurdle to multi ERP integration is the whether the data is well managed in those systems. But technically, we do it. We've done it, and it's absolutely possible. I know we're at time. I promised we were going to end on time. Alex, thank you so much. You really gave us an intense deep dive into HubSpot for the industrial world. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please feel free to check out our website or contact us directly with any questions. And of course, we look forward to seeing you for next month's program and our ongoing series of HubSpot solutions in CRM for the complex B2B world. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day. And thank you again, Alex.
Of course. Thank you so much, y'all.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Take care.